Hello guys, in today's video we are going to be working on the complete version of the shopping cart. So we are going to be doing the complete project for the shopping cart for week 5. This video is going to be split into two parts. The first part, we will walk through the pseudocode from the start to the end for the complete project, and the second part we are going to be writing the actual code in Python. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the first thing is to start our program, and the next thing is to create a menu list that will contain all the options that will be displayed to the user. We have the add item option, we have the view cart option, we have the remove item option, we have the compute total to calculate the total price of the items in the cart. Then we have the quit to end the shopping action. So the next thing to do is to create an empty list, and an empty list that will contain the items that we are shopping, then also a second empty list that will store where we are going to store the price. So we need the item list and we need the price list. So to store the items and prices in the shopping cart, so the next thing we are going to do is to enter a loop that continues indefinitely. So because we are going to keep repeating the shopping item until the user decides to quit, so that's why we are going to enter an indefinite loop, and this sounds like a while loop to me. So this is going to be a while loop. So now inside the loop, what do we want to do? We want to iterate over the menu list, that is, we want to loop over the menu list, that is this menu. We want to show them to the user, so we iterate over that list and display each option with a corresponding number. So after that, we display a prompt to the user to select an action. So the user will select, if the user wants to add item, the user will select 1. So because we are going to be displaying a corresponding number alongside with those options. So if the user wants to add item, the user just press 1. To view cart, the user press 2, like so. So then once we display the options, then the next thing to do is that we are going to enter a try block, because we are going to do some things, and in the process of doing those things we might encounter an error. So that's why we have to put out this part of the code inside the try block, so that if there's any error along the way, we can catch those error and do something with them in the except block. So the first thing we are going to do is to read the user's input and store in a variable called action index. So once we prompt the user to make their choice from the menu, once they make that choice, maybe 1, 2 or 3 or 4, so we store that their action index, that's that number they selected, we store it in a variable called action index. Then the next thing is to subtract 1 from the action index, because when we are displaying the numbers beside these menu items, we are going to add 1 to it to make it look user friendly, because we can't start numbering from 0, 0, 1 like Python does. So we know under the hood, behind the scenes, Python list starts from 0, but when we are displaying to the user, we need to start from 1. So that means when the user selects any number, we need to deduct that 1 that we have added to it previously. Then once we do that, we check if the action index is within the valid range of the menu list. because we are going to be having item 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we have 5 items on our list, so we don't want the user to press 6. Maybe for example, we have 5 items on our list and the user press number 6. That's going to cause our program to crash. So that's why you need to do this if check. So we check if the action index is within the valid range of our menu list. So once we do that, if the answer is positive, if the number is within the range, we proceed to the next part of the code, that is to check which action they are selecting. So if the action index corresponds to quit, then we display the goodbye message. That means they are done shopping. So we display the goodbye message, we break the loop and end the program. So that's exit the loop. So but if the action index corresponds to add item, that is, they want to buy something, they want to add item to their cart, so we display a prompt to enter the item name, the name of the item they want to buy. Then we add that item, we add it to the cart. So we also, before we add it to the cart, we need to display another prompt for them to tell us the price on that item, so that we can keep track of both the name of the item and the price. So once we have those two data, we store them in their respective lists that we have created initially. So the next thing, we need to format the item price to 2 decimal places to make it look good. Then we append the item to the list and the item price to the price list. So the item name goes to the item list and the item price goes to the price list. Then, so once we are done with that, we display a success message confirming the item addition. So now, if the action is to view cart, it means that we just want to loop over the items they have bought so far and display it to them. So we check if item is empty. This one is not necessary, you can just loop and display, but I just have to add this for my exceed the minimum, to add extra stuff to the program. So I'm just adding this extra if check to check if the cart is empty. If it is empty, I just display a message to tell them the cart is empty, there's nothing to view. But if there's something there, so I do the I go ahead and list them out. So that's what this extra if statement is doing. Now, if their action is to compute total, that is, they want to see the total price of the things they have bought so far, we loop over the price list and do addition. We add all those prices together and we format it to 2 decimal places and display the price of the items in the shopping cart. Now, if the action is to remove item, they want to remove item, so we use the pop method, the Python list pop method. There's a pop method in Python for list, where you can use to remove things from a list. So we do that to remove. All we just need to do is to make sure that we know the index where we want to remove something from the list. Once we get the user, we give us the name, so we use that to remove the item from the item list, and at the same index we remove the price on the price list. So display a prompt to enter the index of the item to remove. So once the user gives us the index, maybe the user has 3 items in the cart, maybe salt, sugar, wheat, and they press 1. Salt is the first item, so we know that we are deleting the first item, so we just remove the first item on the list. So depending on the index, they are going to give us the number of the item they want to delete, because those items are going to have numbers. So once they select the number, we use that number, to track the item they want to delete and remove them from the list. But if they make an invalid choice, we just give them an error message. Maybe they have 3 items and they select, maybe they input 4 or 5, so we give them an error message. And once that is done, we display a message to confirm the removal of the item. So now this else block is working with this if block. So this is at the point where we are checking if the action index is within the range of our menu list. As I said earlier, maybe we have 5 options on our menu list like we do here, and they select maybe 6 or 10. So we can't work with that, so we just skip this part of the code. We skip this part of the code and give them an error message here. We display an error message indicating that an invalid item number was selected. So this is the except block that works with this try block. So this except block is where we check, we put all our code inside this except block, so that if any error occurs, even before getting to this part, if any error occurs here, so our except block, we catch it, so, and then we can display an error message indicating an invalid option was chosen. So, and once we do that, we can exit the program without crashing the program. So, and then we end the loop, and that's the end of the program.